First book of the Bible, the third chapter of Genesis. Genesis, the third chapter. When you have it, I ask you to stand on your feet. I'm so glad to see my niece here today. She promised me that next time I preach, if she could make it, she would be here. Genesis chapter 3, beginning with verse 1. And from the King James it reads, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest you die. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die. For God doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. When the woman saw that the fruit was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired, to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave unto her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both of them were open, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together, and made themselves aprons. You may be seated in the presence of God. And if you would pray with me for a few minutes, I would like to talk on this wise. Who are you talking to? Or better yet, who are you listening to? Who are you listening to? You know, it's good to be able to talk to somebody. But there should be someone that you not only talk to, but you're willing to listen to. When you listen to someone, that means that you've given them your undivided attention. You turn your back on everything else. You're interested in what that person is saying. Now we see here that the serpent was the most subtle creature that God had ever made. And you know, when we think of serpent, we think of that snake that's coiling around on the ground. But I stopped by this morning to tell you this. He have always looked that way. There was a time that he walked, and from what I read here, he could talk. Yes. And everything that he did, let me say this here. I think that there was time that he and Eve may have had a conversation. They may have talked to one another. That the serpent, being the snake that he was, he decided he had gotten close enough to her that he could give her the okie doke, if you allow me to say. That he could tell her anything and she just might believe it. You see, that supple means that he was cunning, he was slick, he was smooth in his conversation, and he jumped. And you know, if you look at a snake, just look at a snake. Think in your mind what a snake look like these days. If you look at his eyes, they're kind of mesmerizing. They kind of hypnotizing. Something kind of comes over you to look into the eyes of a snake. But you know what? Some of them even had audacity to choose a snake as a pet. I don't know why, because what I saw in this Bible, he wasn't anything to be played with. He wasn't anything that you be trusted with. Because he allowed the devil to deceive him. Devil. And let me tell you about the devil. Devil is one of those that is the one that whenever there's a crack, you know, we invite Jesus in, but when there's a crack, like I can see a little light underneath that door back there as we come into the church, a crack. He will try to find his way in. And you know, there was a song that was out a long time ago said, if you allow the devil to ride, he want to drive. And if you allow him to come into your life, he won't try to bring deception to you. He gonna try to deceive you and make you think, well, according to the Bible, he made Eve think that what God told him, he didn't mean it. And you know, we have people today that tell you that what God said in this book, that's not what he meant. But I stand before you this morning that if he wrote it, if he inspired it, that's what he meant. If he said it, you can believe it. If he said it, you can trust it. If you said it, you can depend on it. If he promised you, look for it. I see right here it says the same that, and he said unto the woman. You hear me? What I said just a while ago. He said unto the woman, "Ye shall not." Wait a minute, I'm getting ahead of myself. And he said unto the woman, "Yea, God has said, ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden." Right. Every tree. Let me tell you, we all know about the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Yeah. But do you realize that there were two trees in the garden? Yeah. And if you go back to verse 9 of chapter 3, you will see that it says, "And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that was pleasant to the sight and good for food. The tree of life also," you hear what I said, the tree of life in the midst of the garden. Secondary, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. You see, the tree of life is more important than the tree of knowledge. I don't know why that we seek knowledge more or less than we do seek life. We seek, in other words, the life is in Jesus Christ. We go through we read all kinds of books. We read all kinds of mess, newspapers, anything, internet, Facebook. But how often we pick up this book? How often do we study this book? We study all kinds of lessons. But this book, we have it laid out on a coffee table a lot of times, and they had it open to a certain verse. But I stopped by to tell you that not that one verse is in there, but if you go look a little bit further, there's more chapters. And as a matter of fact, there's 66 books in this Bible. And all of them are good and inspired by the word of God. Right. We got his promise in all 66 books. Why do we want to stop at just one when we got 65 more that we can read from? Two trees. And funny thing is, like I said, that when he decided to try to deceive us, that he came to the lesser book, the lesser tree, the tree of good and evil and the word of knowledge. And I stopped by to tell you this morning, my sisters and brothers, that why would we seek knowledge when we had the living God. Right there where we commune with him, or we talk to him every day.
Yes.
And I do believe that anything that we wanted to know, we had him there. All we had to do was ask.
Yeah.
And he would tell us his heart's, our heart's desire, or his heart's desire. Because you know what? It's not to please us. We're not here to please ourselves.
Right.
We're here to please the Almighty God.
Right.
We're here to honor him. Because see, we were his crowning glory.
Yes.
We were his pride and joy. Because you know, he told Satan, when Satan got the big head, he told him, I can take the dust of the earth, and it will praise me more than you ever thought you could. Because you know what? Because when we depended on, we trust in him.
Right.
We lean on him and not on ourselves.
Right.
We should trust him. Because he's the one that sustains us. You know, we always say that God has been good to us. I asked you this question this morning, when did he stop? When he stopped being good to you? Because I read somewhere in this book that says he's just God, same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and forevermore. So when did he stop being good to us? When did he stop? God has always been good to us.
Yes, he has.
Even in the exception, in the creation of the world, he had us in mind.
Yes.
Because if you look at it, before he made man, before he put Adam in the Garden of Eden, he prepared everything. Everything that Adam needed. He placed everything. Then he put Adam down there. And then he looked around. He looked around and then he saw that there wasn't anything else out there that looked like Adam. And he said it's not good for man to be alone. So he created Eve and presented her to Adam.
Right.
And I do believe that when Adam woke up from that sleep, he looked around and he said, "Ooh, wee. Look what the Lord has got for me." We are God's crowning glory. There's nothing he wouldn't do for us. It's so much so that if we go over into the New Testament, in the book of John, it said that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son,
Right.
that whosoever believed in him should not perish, but have everlasting life.
Yes.
And then if we go a little bit further, he said, the Son didn't come into the world to condemn the world, but that through him the world might be saved. In other words, we were lost. We didn't have any hope. So he sent his Son. He sacrificed his Son that we might have the right to that other tree. That other tree, that tree of life. Because see, the tree of good and evil and the tree of knowledge, it messed us up. Because if we look a little bit further down there, we can see where Satan had deceived them and told them that they'd be like unto God. They'd be like, and if you look, when you look at that word God in verse 5, you notice that it's G-O-D, yes. But it's a little g. There is no God bigger than the Heavenly Father. There is no God. There is no God that can stand in his presence. I believe I read somewhere. There was a time that David and them could bring the ark into Jerusalem. And they dropped it off at Obed-Edom's house. When they dropped it off at Obed-Edom's house, there may have been some other guards walking around, presented like the statues and stuff. And when they come back, they found out that the other gods, that had man-made gods, had bowed down before the living God.
Yes.
But you know, I think in their mind that this was an accident. This couldn't happen. So they stood them back up again. They come back down the next day. Not only were they laying down, but they broken in pieces. You couldn't put them back together again. Nothing. No other God, man-made or otherwise, can stand in the presence of our God. For our God knows all about us.
Yes, he does.
Right.
He knows more about me than I know about myself. He knows what I'm capable of. He knows what I'm incapable of. He knows me better than I know myself. I don't have many hairs on my head now. It's getting kind of thin. I still don't know the number that's up there. But God does.
Yes, he does.
He knows the one that fell out. He knows the one that stayed. But I've stopped by to tell you this morning, he's all powerful. He knows that there was no need for them to go to the tree of good and evil, and the tree of knowledge, because they had God there. You had to live in God there. And he knew more than we could even fathom. I also read somewhere that our mind, have we ever even entered into our mind what God has in store for us?
Right.
I heard him say that our mind can't even fathom what God knows. In other words, that's what it's saying. We can't even think in our wildest dream, in our wildest imagination, what God has in store for those that love him. And you know what? I'm just dumb enough to love him. I'm just dumb, stupid enough to love him. I'm just dumb enough and stupid enough to trust him. Because he didn't have to save me. He could have left me in the muck and miry clay. But one day he decided he wanted to see about me. He decided that he loved me so much that he said, I want a relationship with Robert.
Right.
I want a relationship with him. And he sent Jesus, who came down from on heaven on high. Came down and walked the dusty roads of Jerusalem for 33 and a half long years. You know, I'm 71 years old, and I still don't know what Jesus knew. But I got a glimpse of what heaven is like, because he told me. He told me, he said, I won't have you ignorant. It don't say it in the book, in the red, it said, but it was inspired by him. He wouldn't have me ignorant. You know that we get that word ignorant wrong. We think when we tell somebody they're ignorant, they're stupid. But you know what that word ignorant just means? It means that you don't know.
Right.
It means you don't know. But there's nothing in this book. There's nothing in God's kingdom that he won't tell us about. There's nothing in his kingdom that he don't want to share with us. My question this morning, my sisters and brothers, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? And better yet, who are you listening to? Because if Adam and Eve had been listening instead of just talking to God, we wouldn't be in the shape that we was in before Jesus came. But then one day, God looked around heaven. And he said, I want a relationship again with man.
Right.
He said, who can I send? I heard somebody say that, how about if we send Moses? I heard God said, no, we can't send Moses. Because Moses is quick-tempered. Moses may go down there and go so far he get mad and he won't tell my people that I want a relationship with them. Well, I asked him, well, how about if we send Jeremiah?
All right.
He said, well, that would be good if we could send Jeremiah. But you know, I left him in dungeon for overnight. And he made the statement that he wouldn't testify for me again. No, we can't send Jeremiah. Because he might get down there and he get mad again. And he turn his back on me. Well, he said, well, how about if I send Solomon? He said, well, that would make me also a good idea if we send Solomon. But you know, Solomon is a womanizer. Solomon might get down there, he see a pretty leg, a pretty woman, a pretty skirt tail. And he go after that woman and he forget about me. No, I can't send Solomon. Because you see, Solomon ain't good enough. You know, he said, well, I'll tell you what, I heard another sound down round bottom of the throne. I heard the sound of a lamb that had been slain for the foundation of the earth. I heard Jesus say, I'll go. Just give me a baby's body. Give me 1,000 miracles that I can appease the sick. Give me 1,000 blessings so that I can bless the poor. He said, I go down and I tell your people that you love them. I go down there and I tell your people that you want to get close to them again. I go down and I tell them if they believe in me, if they trust in me, then they can have a way out. Jesus said, I go. I go. If don't nobody go but me. I go. If I have to go by myself. He said, well, I tell you what, Jesus, you may have to go all the way to Calvary's cross. But I tell you what, if you go, I'll bless you. If you go, you're going to turn unto me. And if you go, I got a seat over here on my right-hand side. And if you will, have a seat right next to me. And I know right now that Jesus is seated at the right hand of the Father. And each and every morning, each and every day, 24/7, he's sitting right there. And he's asking, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. That if you just give me an opportunity to talk to them. Give me an opportunity to let them know just how much you care about them. Give me an opportunity. And I'll go back and on Judgment Day and I'll bring them home. And you can establish a relationship once again. We no longer out of the ark of safety. When Jesus hung his head, the locks of his shoulder, and he said, it's finished. It's finished. We don't have to sacrifice animals. We don't have to have an earthly side high priest. We can go directly to Jesus. And he's standing, ready to receive us. He's ready to tell the Father, or ask the Father, to forgive us and establish a relationship with us. Who are you talking to? Are you talking to the devil? Or are you talking to Jesus? Are you listening to the devil? Or are you listening to Jesus? Because I heard him say one day, in my Father's house are many mansions. And I go away to prepare a place for you, that I will come again and receive you unto myself. And as they say in it's written in Revelations, come quickly, Lord. Come quickly.